The UN's cultural body will award its annual Press Freedom Prize to Mazen Darwish. He is a Syrian journalist and a rights activist who's been jailed by the regime for more than 3 years. That coincides with World Press Freedom Day, which is being marked in newsrooms across the world, including ours here at Al Jazeera. Journalists at our sister channel, Al Jazeera America, held a vigil in their studios in New York a few hours ago. And in Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, our colleagues at Al Jazeera Balkans also remembered the many journalists and cameramen and women who put their lives on the line every day to report the story. Well, I'm pleased to say that I'm now joined from Riga in Latvia by a journalist we all know well and someone who knows firsthand about a lack of press freedom. Peter Greste, Al Jazeera correspondent, friend and colleague who spent 400 days, of course, in an Egyptian jail after being falsely accused of aiding the outlawed Muslim Brotherhood. Peter, on a personal note, can I ask, how are you?
I'm very fine, thanks very much, Kamal. It's wonderful to be here again. It's been a very long time, as you said, and it really is nice to be back in front of the camera.
We would all say that. Lovely to see you back on Al Jazeera on air with us. Let's talk about World Press Freedom Day. Must mean a lot to you after spending, as we said, 400 days in jail. It's something which, even though a case like yours, in particular, rest of our Al Jazeera staff goes on, but yours has dipped out of the limelight a little bit. We can't let the whole picture be lost.
No, we can't. I mean, at a personal level, obviously, our struggle for justice is still ongoing. Our case is still before the courts in Egypt. The three of us, Mohammed Fahmy, Mohammed Baher and myself, are all technically accused, and the next hearing is still to come on Saturday, this coming Saturday. But more broadly, I'm very concerned about press freedom. You know, as a result of this whole experience, I've become very closely associated with the wider issue globally. And I feel very passionate about it. I feel very strongly about it. I think that what we're seeing, if you look at a recent survey by Freedom House, it's found that press freedom across the globe is at the lowest level that we've seen since records began. The last 3 years were particularly bad in terms of journalists that were killed or imprisoned. And it seems as though we've got a very serious problem in front of us that really needs to be addressed. We really need to be talking about this.
Yeah, I saw the Freedom House report. It said something like out of the 193 nations in the world that only 14 truly have press freedom. That is a scary thought for any of us wanting to go out and do the job, isn't it? Well, correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Well, I will correct you. It was 14% of the world's population.
Still not much, is it?
It's still not much. No, it's a spectacularly low figure. That's less than 1 in 7 of us around the world. Now, I think a lot of governments might dispute the definition of a truly free press, but the fact is that we've seen that space shrink quite considerably over the past few years, and there are all sorts of reasons for that. I think one of the reasons is that the war on terror has narrowed the space that's available for journalists to operate. We're seeing a lot of draconian legislation limiting the scope of journalists' work in the name of national security at the one hand. At the other hand, we're seeing extremist groups, radical groups like ISIS who are taking the heads off journalists. And so what we're seeing is the kind of neutral space that journalists have traditionally been able to operate in seems to have vanished to the point where the media itself is the front lines in a lot of these battles.
Does it put you off? I mean, everything you've been through, and then when the more you learn since you've been out about how bad press freedom, does it put you off?
No, in fact, if anything, it makes me feel quite energized. You know, I wouldn't be doing this job, I wouldn't be a journalist if I didn't believe in what we do. What I've seen since I've been freed from prison has made me feel very concerned about it, but it's also, I feel quite bloody minded about it. I really feel determined that we need to do something to make sure that journalists do get a lot of protection. You know, I had a lot of support from my professional colleagues around the world, from governments, and there are an awful lot of people who are still imprisoned all over the world who don't get the same kind of support that I had. And so I really feel that almost a sense of moral responsibility to stand up and fight for this.
It's a long time since I've said this. Peter Greste, live from Riga. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kamal.